topic is the art of Krishna conscious communication, some practical tips, and eternal principles, I think is a specific term. This is going to be primarily drawn in an adaptation from a longer 4-day ISKCON communications course. Raise your hand if any of you have taken the longer 4-day communications course. Okay, just 4 of you, which is good. So if I botch it, most of you won't know. So that's good. I'm going to try to touch on, in an hour and a half, I mean, you can get a PhD in communications, as many of you know. You can get a bachelor's degree. You can attend week-long seminars. You can take semester courses at university. You can read probably hundreds of books on the topic, or you can attend a 1.5-hour seminar. So we're doing the last choice, so please don't have too many. Very effective. I was just in Belgium at the Bhaktivedanta College last week. I just came back a few days ago. How many of you have been to the Bhaktivedanta College? Very good. How many of you heard of it? Okay. So young devotees. There's no opportunity for education age requirement there. That group, I was very pleased. I was reading some reviews of this course, and they have wonderful teachers come and fantastic topics. Many of them responded. They felt that that particular course was some of the most practical information that they've received in at least the 1 year that they've been at the college. So hopefully we have some stuff that you'll find that will be very practical. And we're going to look at some things that in terms of our own lives will help us as individuals, but also some concepts that actually will help us apply in communicating as members of our society, or as representatives of our society. Things that might help you if you're a brahmachari, how to get along with people in the ashram, or if you're married, relationships in front of 2 million kids, or speaking as a representative. Okay. All right, so I wanted to start out a little bit of spiritual foundation. Nice quote from the Bhagavad Gita. As I mentioned when some of you were still coming in, I apologize that I do not have handouts, but if you don't have any paper, I think you're going to want to take some notes. Anybody not have paper and pen that somebody can share with them? Raise your hand if you need paper or pen. Unless if you have a photographic memory, don't raise your hand. Okay, anybody have extra paper? Oh, you look very wealthy here. Can you tear some sheets off this spread? If you don't have paper, come on up here and grab a sheet or two from me. What's your name? Piyush. Piyush, he's right up here. He won't remember your name. You don't have to pay him back. Just come up real quick and get some paper. Okay, I want to start with a verse of Bhagavad Gita. Anybody guess what it's going to be about? I'll give you a hint. It starts with the word austerity. Don't worry, it's not a class about austerity, you say. Okay, 17th chapter, 15th verse, the divisions of faith. Krishna says, I'll just read the English. Austerity of speech. It's a communication seminar, right? So austerity of speech. Austerity means when you give up something, kind of like sacrifice in a sense. You give up something for some higher purpose, isn't it? If you lead an austere life, you make choices that may not bring immediate benefits, but they bring what kind of benefits? Long-term benefits. Okay, Krishna says, austerity of speech consists in words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. Let's go over those again. Words that are what? Who heard?
Truthful, beneficial,
and beneficial, and not agitating to others. How much of our day-to-day communication violates that? Isn't it? There's a political election in the country. My gosh, it's funny. I was just reading some stories yesterday. They're talking about one of the candidates and one of the candidates' husband, how they said something on Wednesday. It was recorded in the press, it was recorded on TV, and the very next day they said, I never said that. So we're struggling to maintain truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. Also regularly reciting Vedic literature. Purport, just the first line. Prabhupada says, one should not speak in such a way to agitate the minds of others. Well, it wouldn't color you to be more peaceful. We can learn to speak in such a way as to not agitate the minds of others. Raise your hands if you made it through the morning without indulging in purposely choosing to say something that agitated somebody. Confess. I can think of 3 or 4 things I said this morning that was done so to agitate somebody. At least I had a choice. I took the low road instead of the high road. So Krishna here is explaining to us austerity of speech. Now he's specifically saying austerity of speech in the word-for-word transliteration. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, so I don't know how to study that word more deeply, but it's translated in the word-for-word that of the voice. Speech is of the voice. And we know when we talk about communication, sometimes we say there's verbal communications. What other kind of communications are there?
Non-verbal.
Facial communications, bodily communications, certainly written communications, etc. So when Krishna says this here, I think it's reasonable to expand that to include not just speech, but all of our communications should be truthful, should be beneficial, should be pleasing to others, doesn't agitate people. So we're going to work on that premise that that's what we're trying to do. Now you remember, those of us that have taken initiation or those that have friends that have, we take 4 vows. Those vows are meant to support what 4 pillars? What's the first one? Truthfulness, mercy, cleanliness. So again, austerity is reaffirmed. And what's austerity of speech? We just said. Well, we're around the chairs in the back. Maybe somebody could just run and get some from the from somewhere else. It'd be too bad if you all had to stand the whole time. But there may be other chairs in the big room. If you wanted to go get some, feel free. I'm afraid I'm stuck. I can't go get them for you. Okay, so we're supposed to support these 4 pillars. Now, how do we do that? That can be like a million different classes, but I thought it'd be good just to talk about this for a second. One verse that comes to mind, 5th chapter, 7th verse, Krishna says, "One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled." So that's a great way. If we always work in devotion, if we're pure souls, if we have perfect control over our mind and senses, then automatically we'll be dear to everyone, which means we'll speak beneficially, pleasing and truthful. Raise your hand if you always work in devotion, if you're a pure soul, and you always control your mind and senses, and you're dear to everyone. Anybody? Anybody raises their hand gets an hour and a half off. The rest of us, we're going to try to talk about some practical things we can do when we're not naturally like that. So how can we be beneficial, truthful, pure, etc. in our speaking? One important point is mentioned here theologically, and Peter was emphasizing this, those of you who went to his presentation, that a devotee sees everyone equally. That's an important point. If we're going to actually communicate in an effective Krishna conscious way, we have to believe first and foremost that all other beings are worthy of our respect. More than that, they're worthy of our honor, but at least they're worthy of our respect. If we don't come from that premise, it's very easy to see that other people, other entities are objects of what?
Enjoyment.
Of our
Enjoyment.
contempt, enjoyment, gratification, right? Exploitation. We see other living entities as objects to be exploited. So the ground level, if we're going to communicate in an effective way, in a Christian conscious way, we have to at least try to see other living beings as objects of our respect and service, to see that they're parts and parcels of Krishna. That's kind of like the preamble in order to go forward. In order to do that, I'm going to kind of throw out a few different little communication sutras. Something to keep in mind. Communications is a process. It's not a product. Anybody want to say what that cute little thing means? Besides Venkata, who's safe to remember these things. Anybody? If communications, what's the difference between a process and a product? Process is ongoing. A product is finite, okay? So just in general, we should understand we may not be the best communicator. We may have really screwed up some relationships in the business. Someone else may have communicated in a negative way to us. It can be changed. We can turn things around. In the field of communications, let's say in terms of relationships with neighbors or government or the media, sometimes we think, well, they don't like us or they don't respect us or we really burned out that reporter because we didn't really do a very good job. We should remember that it's a process. We can turn things around. So we're going to talk about how we can apply that effort of making it an ongoing process. To be effective in our communications, it takes some effort. We can't be lazy. We're all pushed by different modes of nature. If we're going to be good communicators, we have to become yogis. What's the symptom of a yogi? Is one who controls their mind and their senses. And like Peter was saying today, if you make a mistake, we have to be ready to recognize it, to admit it, and try to figure out how to do better. Okay? Anybody in the front row? Right? Anybody from the front row? About 20 minutes. Thank you. Okay, great. You want to come up and write a few things down? I'm going to throw out some basic concepts, talk about them for a little bit, and then we're going to do some exercises later. So again, pay attention, because when we break into groups, you don't want to look foolish in front of friends and strangers. Okay, so I'm going to warn you up ahead that it's coming. Okay. So here are some basic principles to be effective in communications. First one is win-win. If we're going to be effective communicators, we have to think win-win. Okay? What does that mean? Thinking win-win. I mean, it's thrown around a lot in the business world and things these days. What does it mean, and especially in terms of a Krishna conscious perspective? You may want to comment. Maharaj.
That you get something from the interaction and the other person also gets something from the interaction. You don't win at someone else's losing.
Okay, good, good. Ideally, we always come from this perspective. It's a principle. We're looking for win-win. There's occasional situations it's not necessarily positive or that you can't achieve that, but that's what we're shooting for, okay? Why we're shooting for that, in part, the basic premise I talked about earlier, because we believe every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. They all have value. We'd like to uplift everyone in any interaction we have. Sometimes others may not be capable of that, but this is the basic point that we're coming from. Principle number one. There's only 4, maybe 5 we're talking about. Second one, we talk about a lot, time, place, and circumstance. If we're going to be effective as communicators, we have to understand situations vary. The way you talk to your boss is not the way you talk to your teenager. God forbid you talk to your boss the way you talk to your teenager. Right? You'd be in big trouble then. You'd have to call the temple and say, do you have any room for monoprostus? I have an unpursued or an unrequested change of ashram for you. Okay. So time, place, and circumstance. Third principle, communications, we have to be proactive. This is a real tough one, and I was thinking about this morning when I was getting ready for this. If I really want to take the time in the soul searching to look at where I have had relationships or communications break down, am I willing to actually be proactive and do what's necessary to make it work? When we're talking about a society as a whole, this is extremely important. We talk about we don't have good relationships with the media, we don't have good relationship with some other organization. We can't wait for them to come to us hoping things will get better. We have to actually be proactive. So as a basic principle, if we want to establish good communications, we have to be self-controlled enough, and as Peter was saying, humble enough, we're ready to take the proactive position to see how things can be improved. When we're trying to improve things, we're going to act according to the particulars of that situation, and we're going to look for a win-win solution, a win-win conclusion to come out of it. The fourth one, this is critical. This should be the easiest for devotees. It's often the most difficult. If we actually lived up to this, geez, you know, 95% of our communication problems would go away. 95%. I can say as a communications director, 99% of my problems would go away if the entire society acted with integrity. You can't communicate one thing and do something else. You can't say we're humble and be puffed up. Of course, we're all, you know, we're struggling, right? It's difficult. We're not pure devotees. That was the first condition of staying. We all recognize we're not. But if we don't struggle very hard to act with integrity, what's another way of saying integrity? Honesty is part of it, definitely. Truthfulness. Accountability.
Sincerity.
Reality. There's a little slogan.
Be a person of your word.
Be a person of your word.
Sincerity.
Sometimes they talk about you have to
Walk
walk your talk. Sometimes for me, I find that's the easiest thing. Walk your talk. Religious people are very vulnerable for expecting their talk to make up for their walk. It doesn't work that way, isn't it? Peter mentioned about sometimes we all run into different kind of fundamentalist people of different traditions. Oh, tell me, anybody in the world ever talked about fundamentalist Hare Krishnas? We have a reputation for that, not an undeserved one. We're not very good at walking our talk sometimes. We have to be very careful. And the last principle, usually put in the top, but just for the sake of making the flow here, we have to be very attentive to following Srila Prabhupada's teachings, and also what? Not just his teachings, his example. We have to be very, very careful to make sure we're following Srila Prabhupada. He's kind of our check and balance there. Now, let's see. Is that the kind of paper that sticks to the wall? Probably. Is there sticky in the back of that? Okay. Well, let's take it off in a moment. Is it a proper? Did they give you any glue tack for when you were teaching? Where's my helper? Could you get some tape or some glue tack? That'd be great. Okay, good. So a couple other things, and then we're going to do a little bit of an analysis of our own situation. I'm going to tell you now something called the communications mantra. Okay, mantra means you have to, what is it? Mind releasing, right? Releases our mind. So this mantra releases our mind from preconceived conceptions that undermine any attempt at positive communication. That mantra is anytime we're trying to communicate with another person, the first thing we always have to ask ourselves, those of you that have taken some of this or heard me before, we can say together, the first thing we have to do is ask what the other person's needs, interests, and concerns. Can you write that down? Yeah, thank you. What's your name? Rija. Thank you. Okay, so that's very, very, very important. Please write that down. When we talk to people, or when we're communicating in any way, we generally come from the perspective of what I need. So a lot of times communications, we're not really listening to each other, we're waiting to get our point across. How often do you find yourself saying, you know, as you were speaking, I couldn't help but thinking. In other words, I'm kind of holding you off. I'm standing here so you can't get away. And as soon as you stop the mouth moving, there's my point. That's not very good communication. Because we're thinking in terms of my needs. If we want to learn to be effective in communications and in building relationships with other people, we have to practice the art of understanding what's the other person's needs, interests, and concerns. As a simple example to help us understand that, as I was driving up here this morning, I was up late. I had to be here at 9 o'clock, 9:30 to introduce Peter. I was really struggling, so I indulged myself in oldies but goodies, country, and NPR. Not all at once. I don't have that fancy of a radio. But as I was turning, you know, when the country music started putting me to sleep, I switched to oldies and goodies. Lots of radio stations out there in West Virginia, I can verify that. What's the most popular frequency in West Virginia, the East Coast, the West Coast, North America, South America, all over the world? What's everybody listening to? What's their favorite frequency? Anybody know?
Rock.
Some said rock. What else?
I would say the mind and the question, what's in for me? That's the frequency.
Yeah, see, Mars is correct. Mars is sannyasi, but he hasn't renounced radio knowledge. Okay? This is the most popular frequency in the entire world. What's in it for me? We're all tuned into that wavelength. You know, a quote by definition, karmic, right? Materialistic person. They're always thinking, what material benefits am I going to get? A jnani, what's a jnani thinking about? What type of knowledge I'm going to cultivate? Mystic power? Okay, Okay? What's a devotee thinking about? Are we always just thinking purely, whatever pleases Krishna no matter what? We're trying, what are we practically thinking about? We're trying to connect those things with Krishna, but aren't we thinking about when's lunch? Of course it's prasadam. Even in a very, we all have material needs. Am I going to get a nice comfortable place to sleep tonight? Am I going to be able to get a chance to get a little break so I can catch up on my rounds or write some emails? What's in it for me? We're thinking like that. Even we may be thinking in terms of what's in it for my spiritual advancement. In terms of relationship, what's the benefit to my temple? What's the benefit to my family? So everyone is thinking in terms of this. And if we're going to build relationships and communicate with people, we need to understand that's the wavelength that they're on. And if we don't understand this, you can never have a win-win. Because again, win-win means we're trying to understand what are other people's interests and how can we find something that's of mutual benefit. Okay? That's the goal that we're trying to find. Simple example. We use it in the communications course. I think we borrowed it from somebody. I think I remember where, but it's a good story anyway. There was a college student that was away at school and would never write to his mother. She's desperately anxious. She wants to hear from her son. He never writes back. She's writing letter after letter after letter of increasing intensity. The last one says practically, if you don't contact me, I'm just going to die. I need to hear from you. Right? Her brother, the uncle of the son, says, what's the problem? I can get him to respond. She says, no, I've tried everything possible. He never writes back. Okay? He says, I'll get him to write. I'll check in with it. 2 weeks later, this is in the days of postal mail when the story was composed. 2 weeks later, he comes back and he says, here's a letter. I got a letter from your son. She says, it's not possible. He says, it's right here in front of you. Read it. He wrote to me. Read it out loud. So she reads the letter. Dear Uncle, I'm having a great time in the university. I made a lot of friends. I've been doing really good on my tests. I got an A in the most recent one. I joined so many different teams. We won the championship in rugby. Loved hearing from you. Look forward to seeing you at Christmas/Diwali. Thanks for your letter. P.S. P.S. The letter you wrote, you mentioned you enclosed $50. It wasn't there. Please send it at your earliest convenience. When the mom's writing saying, please write me, I need to hear from you, I'm missing you, you're my son, I love you, how come you don't care for me anymore? Whose needs, interests, and concerns is she communicating? Hers. When the uncle sends a note, he includes a $50 bill. Whose needs, interests, and concerns is he addressing? The sons, the nephews. Is everybody, are there like people out in the hall, you want to come in?
On the last one.
The last one? Okay.
Yeah.
When more come, send them in, they can send them
Okay.
for something. Okay, so if we don't understand other people's needs, interests, and concerns, then we're not going to be very effective in our communication. Right now I'm standing here, there's maybe 60 people in the room. I'm doing up till now most of the talking. Okay, it's not going to last forever. Who's controlling the communication in this room? I'm speaking. Who's controlling the communication?
Audience.
Audience? Why? Some people said me, some people said, why audience? Who said? Yes?
Because you want to have win-win communication, so you are driven by the need of the audience, that's what we are trying.
Okay,
So
good.
we can pay attention to you.
Communications can't just be one way. That's not communications. That's broadcasting. Communications means there's some receptacle. It's two-way. So if I'm speaking and you're all sitting like this, is there any communications at all? No communications. What with the son, she was writing, phoning, maybe modern version, emailing, text messaging him. No response. Why? Because he was in control and he was not receiving the messages. Because she wasn't talking to his needs, interests, and concerns. Comment, question?
We have an expectation.
Real loud so they can all hear
We
you.
have an expectation of what you're going to speak or how is it going to benefit us, and that's why you're speaking. And we are listening. At this point, we are listening because we want to learn.
Yes. And hopefully I don't blow it. I'm trying.
What was the question?
I think it was a continuation of this other comment. She was talking about motivational reasons why you're here. And as soon as you don't feel there's any benefit, and I haven't addressed your needs, interests, and concerns, you'll either slip out the back or you'll turn off. So you control the communications. We tend to think, the louder I talk, the more they have to hear me. But generally it's the other way. Right? Those guys in the street corner with their Bible, right? Jesus says, if you don't surrender, you're going to give up. How many people really hear that? It's not the most effective way to communicate, because they haven't taken into consideration the needs, interests, and concerns of other people. So we need to learn how to do that. So, one other concept I'm going to leave you, and then we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. As individuals and as communities, as a society, we want to communicate with people, especially as an organization, as a temple or a group of devotees working on a project. We have particular goals in mind. Anytime we have a goal in mind that interacts at all with other people, there's one other term I want to leave you with, again, before we work into some of the exercises. That other term is, there are specific groups who can really help us, groups or individuals, or really hurt us. Those are called key audiences, like a key to opening a door. If you have the right key, you can open a door. If you don't have the right key, you can't get in. So if we don't understand who key audiences are, we have a very hard time of communicating with them. But it was actually, you know, it would be better if you came in and maybe stood here or sat, just because there's no air here other than the door. And you two are both like 6'6", you're taking up 6'6" of the 8-foot door. And it's, I can tell the effect on the people up here in the front.
Here's one chair.
Yeah, there's one chair up here too. Actually, there's one here, there's another one here. And I never call on people in the front, so you're safe. Okay. Key audiences. A simple example, just keep this in mind. Just nice little visual, help us remember things sometimes. If you were a Roman gladiator, okay? You're a Roman gladiator and you're fighting in the arena, and then at the end one person loses. You remember in the movies or cartoons when you're a kid, the victor standing over the defeated party with the sword at their throat. And then the winner looks up to who? No, sorry. Audience, you haven't watched the movie, sorry. You have to ride more airplanes. Inside joke. Okay, looks up. Who's he look up to?
Caesar.
Caesar, the emperor. And what's the emperor do? He holds his hand out like this, and what's he do? Thumbs up, you live. Thumbs down, kill him. Okay, nice visual. Key audience. We need to think in terms of who are those groups or individuals that can really help us or really hurt us. In every situation, if you have a goal or some mission or something you're trying to accomplish, there are key audiences. Okay? Can we take this one up now? Okay, let's do a little bit of a brainstorming here. Understanding this idea, we're trying to understand the needs, interests, and concerns of others. There are key audiences of individuals or people that can really help us or hurt us. Let's say you're a teenager and your life revolves around the mall. Okay? All right? I know it's never happened. It's an artificial situation. Your life revolves around the mall and you don't drive. Who's the key audience for you? Friends? Parents? Anybody that drives. Isn't it? Anybody that drives. I saw a bumper sticker one time. It said something like, "Mom, I hate you, get out of my life, but before you go, can you give me a ride to the mall?" Not a great message, but it was heartfelt. It was not the best way to communicate that. Let's say in this situation, if you want to encourage devotees, let's say you're involved with a temple project, you've got congregational members and temple devotees, you'd like to start a Harinam program. Maybe there isn't one there, you want to start more. Who might be some of the key audiences that could help you build or establish a Harinam program? Raise your hands, I'm calling you. One?
Congregation.
Congregation, okay. It's a broad term, but it's okay for you. Temple authorities, okay.
The one person in your congregation that really likes Harinam?
Okay,
or
good.
Several people like
okay. That would be like almost like an internal audience of those who are most committed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Can you all read this from the back? No, maybe a little bit bigger. And this, we're going to do this here, so just kind of get this best. Okay, temple authorities, congregation, 1 or 2 committed people. Very good. Very good. Can they help you or hurt you? I'm not going to embarrass you and ask you how many of us have been on Harinams without anybody that knows how to play. Yeah, okay, so we need some good musicians. Other things?
Local government.
Local government. Raise your hand if you've ever been arrested in a Harinam. Not so many in this country. In Europe, isn't there? There's a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah, when I was in Denver, Denver had a long-standing attorney named Ralph Rhodes, who they first met when he was a young lawyer working pro bono, and he got the whole temple out of jail one day. They locked the whole place up. You know, before they understood it was religious practice and all that. So, temple authorities are, let's just 1 or 2 more key audiences.
Could handle rejection. Could handle rejection.
Could handle rejection. You're looking for people, types of people.
Right, I mean, right now, on the streets, some people may be disinterested. That should not turn you on.
Who are key audiences for you to get out there and do Harinam?
Somebody who would not feel rejected. A congregation.
Who could handle rejection out on heart?
Okay, you're saying among ourselves. Okay, so you'd like to maybe qualify the congregational members, especially those a little bit more outgoing. Okay, okay, good. Okay, good. They can handle rejection. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking about strangers who would. I wasn't sure. 1 or 2 more, yes.
Music students from universities, like people with similar
Oh.
interests, extra.
That's nice, thinking outside of the box. Potential music students from a local university who might be willing to be involved. So these are possible key audiences. Why would a temple authority be a key audience?
And famous people in that locality.
Okay, famous people also. Let's analyze these. Why would the temple authorities be a key audience?
You get the authority first.
Okay, yeah, you know, you could do it on your own, but sometimes they could offer approval. What other ways could they really help?
They can help you organize and
Okay, they can help. We're organized. What else?
Resources?
Guidance.
Resources. What kind of resources? Financial, might pay for the gas in the car. Might give people.
Guidance.
They may lead the Harinam.
They might lead. Okay, good. So they can help you, right? Can they also hurt you?
Yeah.
Sure. One of they stood up Sunday feast said, "Whatever you do, do not go on a Nuna Harinam." Anybody goes on a Nuna Harinam? No Sunday feast. That would shut it down real quick, wouldn't it? So they can help us, so they can hurt us. So in our lives, we need to think who are the key audiences. Sometimes we want to communicate to the world. People say, who are you preaching to? The public. Right. The public. How do you understand the public's needs, interests, and concerns? You can't. It's too big. I mean, you could say, well, they need Krishna consciousness. Yes, we know that. How do you be a little bit more narrow? See, when the mother was broadcasting her letters to her son, because she didn't have a narrow enough understanding of his needs, she couldn't really communicate with him. So we need to understand who these key audiences are. Another example, let's just draw a line there, maybe a different color. Another example, let's say we want to have Rath Yatra, first time in your home city, you want to have it down the main street in town. Who are some of the key audiences? Actually, let me ask this. This is Lord Jagannath, it's Prabhupada's desire. You're a devotee, you're coming into cyclic succession. You should just have Harinam. To hell with everybody else, right? Because God's on your side. Right? Or, alternative two, there may be key audiences that could help you or hurt you be successful. How many want to go it alone? Okay, it's a facetious question, but we tend to think like that. Okay? So practical, real life, we don't live in a vacuum. We know what Krishna wants, but we also have to live in the world. God helps those who buck the system. Is that what Krishna said? God helps those who help themselves. Okay? So key audiences, you want to have a Rath Yatra in your city for the first time. Who are some of the key audiences? Raise your hands. Just because it's hard for me to hear. Yes.
City council,
Okay, city council. Why?
because you need permits.
Need a permit, Raj?
Police department.
Police department, so they don't stop you early. Yes. Volunteers. Volunteers are key audience. You need manpower.
Media, so for promotion.
Okay, why is media important? They can really make or break. This is the Toronto team up here. Does everybody know, let's take a moment here, The Toronto Rath Theatre for how many years has been sponsored by either the Toronto Star or the...
We had it for about 3 years.
3 years, the Hare Krishna Rath Theatre by the ISKCON Temple was officially sponsored by the local major newspaper. Do you all know that? Let's give these guys a round of applause. Her too, she's... Who else? The City Council, police, volunteers, the media.
Rich people who are favorable. Rich and favorable.
Now, in the spirit of Senator Obama, can we say donors as opposed to rich people?
Yeah, rich and favorable.
A long distance without as many rich people. Okay. It's yet up to see who's going to, pull it off. But he got it.
The Indian grocery stores allow us to put the banners and the advertisements to invite
Okay, good.
people.
So can we say Indian businesses and grocery stores?
Yeah, grocery stores.
Good. Donors, it's obvious why they can help us, please. Why are these important? Indian grocery stores. Why were they a key audience?
Because they help us allow to put the advertisements in their
Help
shops.
us advertise this. They also can donate a lot of things. So you get an idea. These are what key audiences are. Okay. I didn't expect this many people in this small of a room, so I was going to break into groups, and I need 30 seconds to figure out how we're going to do that. Yeah, that we definitely do, or else they'll stampede each other. Do you have one more?
The route, because especially in Chicago, we go on Devon Street, half of it is Pakistan, half of it is India. If you go in front of Pakistan, everybody closes the shops and nobody is there to receive the message.
Okay.
But if you pass in front of the Indian shops, then there are a lot more people, so that makes a difference.
Okay, so you're saying that we need to also consider that the local neighborhood is also a key audience. Okay, good. Neighborhood's a key audience. Okay, good. All right, let's do this. I'm just going to have you kind of work in groups of about 3. Let's have every row just work independently. You're going to work this with your rows, okay? And what I want you to do is you're going to take number this 1 to 7. Okay. This group here, you're going to work like this is one group, this is one group, this is one group, okay? Up till here, you're going to do number 1. And I'll tell you in a minute what you're going to do. You're going to do number 2. You're going to do number 3. Everybody here, again, just working in 3. Everybody back here, you're going to do 4. From there up to here, you're going to do 5. You're going to do 6. Up till here, you're going to do 6, and you're going to do 7. Here's what you're going to do. Working as a small group, okay, there's 6 audiences here that we just listed. Here's the question for you. I want you to analyze what are the needs, interests, and concerns of your audience, okay? Group 1, and don't start quite yet. Group 1, you're going to look at what are the needs, interests, and concerns of the City Council. Number 2, the police. 3 volunteers, this means like 10 temple volunteers, potential temple volunteers. 4, the media. 5, donors. 6, Indian businesses. 7, the neighborhood. Okay, I'm going to do one of them. Put up your scholars, if you can. Just as an example, we'll do one together. Needs, interests, and concerns of scholars. This isn't so much a really important audience for Rath Theatre, but it could help. Okay, how could it help if we had, how could scholars help a Rath Theatre? They could promote them on the students. What else? Wait a minute.
They could maybe introduce it, publicly speak about the importance of it.
Very good. They could lend their prestige to the event by speaking publicly.
Part of their research.
They also make it seem more authentic.
Okay, they give us authenticity. Good. Those are 3 good examples. Let's discuss for a minute together, and then you're going to break into groups and do it. What are the needs, interests, and concerns of the scholar? All of you, stop for a minute. Okay, you're a college professor, you write books, you're a big academic. What kind of things are you interested in? What are your needs? What are your concerns?
Fame. They need
fame. Your reputation is important to you, isn't it?
Legitimacy as far as historic value or relationship.
Okay, legitimacy of yourself and your...
And for the event you're asked to support.
Okay, good. That would be a big issue for you. If you're asked to do something, is it legitimate in the eyes of the larger public audience? Okay?
Are you an interest in subject matter?
Good, you're looking for interesting subject matters. What are you going to do with those subject matters?
Publish.
Oh, that's the next one. Hold on for that one. That's good. You're going to research. So basically, as far as the scholar's perspective, all of you first and foremost are what? Never been called this before. It's not a dirty word. Specimens. You are specimens. You are wonderful, exciting things to study. You ever talk to a scholar and you go on and on and on, Krishna's blue and he's, saved blood and half man, half lion, and they just go, fascinating. And you're thinking, wow, he's loving my preaching. I'm really convincing him. And he's just thinking, this is marvelous. Whatever he's, they really believe this, they just see this person's from this tradition, but he's connected to this and that. They're fascinated, just the fact that we do what we do. Another very important thing for scholars, publish. Publish. What's the expression in English?
Publish or perish.
Publish or perish, right? Very important for scholars. So reputation, legitimacy, publishing. They're looking for specimens, students. What else do scholars love? What do they lust over?
Reputation.
Reputation, what more than that? Anybody been in the American Academy of Religion?
Something new, creative.
Books. Books, 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 books. Not picture books. Books. They love books. Do we have books? We have so many books. They love books. They can't not buy books. They love books. So these are some of their needs, interests, and concerns. So if we're going to build a relationship, if we were, with scholars, we would want to understand what are their needs, interests, and concerns. In other words, if I go to a scholar and I say, dear Professor so-and-so, we would love to have you come and speak at our Rath Yatra because I'm organizing it. We're trying to get as many people as possible to come because it's a real good chance to show off our movement. And my spiritual master is going to be coming, and I'd like to impress him. And the temple president's going to retire in a couple of years, and it would really kind of move me up a notch. And not only that, the bar nacho dancer canceled, and I got a real problem with the schedule. Is that going to motivate him or her to come? No, unless he's really merciful. Okay. But what might motivate him, if I can say, my dear sir, it's a wonderful historic event. We'd love you to come. There's going to be lots of people who you could teach a little bit about the tradition. You might actually meet some other very interesting practitioners, quote, specimens from around the world, etc., 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 etc. I don't know if I don't know if you'd be able to say there's an opportunity to publish something. You could talk about your books or whatever. That might be of interest to them because I'm thinking in terms of what? Let's say it together. What's our mantra? Needs, interests, and concerns. When I think in terms of mine, I'm not effective. When I think in terms of his, he might want to come. Okay? So, in terms of Rath Yatra, your first Rath Yatra, work in rows. Please, you can write some of the thoughts down you come up with. What are the needs, interests, and concerns of your audience? Okay? Everybody remember what group you have? If you're not clear, I will give you about 7 minutes on this. Okay. So if I can have your attention again. So I hope you're okay with the lack of oxygen back there.
The door.
There's another, can that door be opened back there?
But then you get temple noise.
No, the green one, not that one, not that one, that one. The green one, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, that might help a bit. At least those of you in the back, since you're standing, at least we should let you breathe. Right? The rest, they're sitting but no oxygen, so you get something. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to look at one of these audiences to get some sense of how the analysis has been done, and then we're going to take it to the next step together. So let's look at, let's start with City Council. Who had City Council? It was this corner, right? Okay, so let's just get one at a time, and she's going to write down some of the different needs, interests, and concerns of the government. I think you all see why government can really help us or really hurt us. Right? You've heard of Kazakhstan? Not a lot of help. Hungary? Not a lot of help. Okay, so anybody in this group? Oh, you combine. Oh, you should have twice as many. Just give just one at a time, you can throw some things out.
So we divided the interests and needs in one category,
Okay.
concerns in one. Interest needs, one of the is tourism.
Okay, government, and we're going to do this kind of quick just to get an idea. Governments like tourism, right? It's good for business and so many things. That's a good interest of theirs.
Attraction of the media.
That's okay. Just, you don't have to explain all this stuff.
Fee.
Money. How does government get money? What's it called? Permits? What? Yeah, permits. Good. Good. What else? Taxes. Government. Are taxes important for governments? Yes. Okay. Good. Okay.
Votes.
Votes. Is government interested in votes? Yes. Our devotees like asking a devotee's interested in prashadam. It's kind of like equal, you know. It's life-sustaining. Okay. One of the other groups. Who else? Who else did government way back to where? Just three. Okay. Okay. So this all went into one list.
Yeah.
Oh, very organized. Okay.
Promoting diversity.
Okay, governments like to promote diversity. You got some too? Yeah, you can. Great. Tell us which one for you. Okay, so she's saying specifically related to a festival, they're going to want to make sure it's open to all. Is it of interest and benefit?
Organizers.
Good. Government, in terms of a specific thing, they want to know who's organizing. Right? What else do they want? When they say who's organizing, do they want to know all the details? What types of things are they mostly concerned about in terms of the way you've organized it?
Safety.
Safety. Who said safety? Hooray. Very good one. Okay, so they're very concerned about safety. What else do they want to know about organizing? They don't want to know every detail. When something goes wrong, what do they want to be able to know what they're going to... Security. Okay. Security. They want to know who they can... Contact. Thank you. If you're a government person, they want to know who do I get hold of? If we have a problem, how do I contact you? Is it you? Who is it? I need to know who we're going to talk to.
History of the
Okay, on the event they might want to know the history. We can write that down. What general, more broad things is the government interested in? Public hygiene.
Image.
Their own reputation. Very good. How important is it for politicians to have a good reputation? Thank you all for coming. I live in Washington. I just like to say I'm really happy to attend this event with the Krishna people. I have tremendous respect for all that you're doing to contribute to our country. Without people like you and the diversity and the depth and the beauty that your culture and your tradition brings, America could not be what it is. I want to let you know, I stand with you. I appreciate you. We are together in our common causes, and I uplift the work that you do. And I want to let you know that you have a friend in me. I am your friend. Anytime I can help you all, I am most grateful because I really, fill in the blank, right? The Krishnas, the Armenians, the Christians, the Jews, this, that, black, white, left, no, it doesn't matter. I'm with you. Reputation is very important, all right?
Clean up. Clean up.
Clean up, yeah. Hygiene, clean up, you say cleanliness, good. Noise pollution. Noise pollution represents what? What is the one thing government officers always have to get but they don't like to get? Complaints. How important is complaints to government people? They hate them, but that's what they do all day long. Okay? Okay, that's a good list, right? Complaints.
Traffic problem.
One or two other things?
Traffic,
very important to government people. Okay, so can everybody see this list? Environmental concerns, very good. Okay, and there may be more. We're going to stop here just to kind of take this next. Why don't you write environmental concerns? Okay, now you're the city council. I'm coming to you. My name is Dr. Fred. Okay, how are y'all doing today? I'm glad to be able to come and speak to you. I'm here on behalf of the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. It's our intention that Lord Jagannath can give his personal darshan to thousands of conditioned souls in your city. Therefore, we need your help so that we can distribute prashadam, the holy name, varieties of nectar. science of Vedic literature. Right? It's like, get that guy out of here. Who let him in there? As opposed to, my dear members of the City Council, okay? I've understood I want to have Rath Yatra, right? There's certain people that can help me, or those people are called my key audiences. In order to build a relationship with them, what kind of relationship am I trying to build?
Win-win.
Win-win. That means I need to understand their
needs, interests, and concerns.
So I couldn't hear you on that, was it? Needs, interests, and concerns. It's a mantra, remember? Very good. If I understand their needs, interests, and concerns, I can build win-win. Okay? My goal is to have a nice, happy, healthy, successful Rath Yatra. Okay? If I go to the city office and I speak as I just did, it's Jagannath, it's the Parampara, it's mercy, they don't get it. I can speak with all the conviction in my heart. Who controls the communication? They do. They're going to shut down and not hear a thing unless I speak like this. My dear City Council members, thank you for the time to speak to you this evening. With the 3 minutes I have, I'd like to introduce why we feel it would be beneficial for your city to sponsor the beautiful Rath Yatra cart. First of all, it's a wonderful opportunity to increase tourism in the area because many, many people will come and get a chance to experience the wonderful facilities that we have here. In addition to that, a lot of these people are going to spend money downtown because the event goes on for 6 or 8 hours. They're going to want to come and visit the stores, etc., etc., etc. Not only that, there's a wonderful opportunity for some of you to come and speak to our crowd. We've got a lot of people, they're voters. We have a lot of people. We'd love to have you come and address them. It's a real chance to promote cultural diversity. We know that's an important issue for our community here. There's been a lot of tensions in the past. We're trying to move forward. It's a chance for us to partner with you on that. Of course, it's open to all. We've handed out information packs to everybody. Our first concern is for the safety of our people. That's why we've already spoken to the police department. They are going to blah, 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 blah. Write down the list. Have I said anything untrue? Have I said anything that's against my principle of integrity? I want to say festival. I'm happy the mayor comes out there. It's win-win. The mayor comes, he gets voters. He shows he's culturally sensitive. We get what? Authenticity, support, the police are getting space. It's a win-win situation. If I don't take time to understand his needs, interests, and concerns, and their needs, interests, and concerns, I may not be so effective. Okay? Everybody follow the principle there? Any questions so far?
Could you just say what is the difference between needs and interests, or is it the same?
It's a little French market. Nuance. Yeah, normally we don't have to break down these are their needs, these are their interests, these are concerns. It's just a different way of kind of looking at it. Some people it may be their need, some people they may just be interested, maybe a concern. Varieties of why is it of an importance to them? Okay, good question. Yes?
Sometimes we may have to work with somebody whom we know are against us, or sometimes their principles.
How about anti-cults? Are they against us? They disagree with us sometimes? Some of my closest friends are anti-cult members. Every year I get to go to the anti-cult conference. I can't go this year because I got a family thing. It was a real struggle. Family or my anti-cult? I went for family because it's in Italy, so that wasn't so tough. But anti-cult people, they can help us, they can hurt us. So are they a key audience for us? Yes. I may like them, I may not like them, but they're a key audience, okay? The neighbor across the street that really hates you, whether you like him or her or not, they can help you, they can hurt you. We all like to hear the wonderful stories about how successful Chapati is. When I first taught the communications course in India, I was really shocked. One devotee told me the story of their earlier relationships with their neighbors when the alley directly behind the temple was a big mess, broken light bulbs, dirty, filthy. The neighborhood, I think, if I remember correctly, somebody knows better. I think I was told they were sued something like a dozen times. Horrible relationships. Then they actually met with the neighborhood and found out that the reason they were so upset with him because this dirty, filthy, dark alley. So even though it wasn't the temple's responsibility, they understood this is the needs, interests, and concerns of our neighbors. They went out of the way to fix the problem. That began this rosy period of great relationships with the neighborhood. I'm sure there were some bumps in the road. because they stop to ask what are their needs, interests, and concerns. So we can remain like the mom who writes to her son every single week. You're killing me already. Right? No response. Or the uncle who understands how to relate to the needs, interests, and concerns of the son. Okay, so now the nephew. Here's what I would like you to do. Taking this into consideration, each of you working individually, I would like you to write down on a piece of paper. Again, there's some very generous, charitably minded persons here. If you don't have one, borrow one. Think for a minute. Think about a personal challenge or a problem or a goal that you have that involves or is dependent upon other people. In other words, you may say, well, I'd like to chant, 20 rounds a day. Okay, that doesn't really involve a lot of other people. That's pretty much up to you. So put that one aside. You may say, I would like to start a Bharatanatyam dance class at the temple. That involves a few people. I would like to have another Rathayatra event. I would like to start a Sunday school. I would like to organize a congregational book distribution program. I would like to have yoga sangha, people at the temple. Something like that. Some challenge or goal you have. And please write that down on the top of the paper. That's your first question. I'll give you about 1 minute just to think of something. Something that has some depth. Don't let it be like, I'm not sure where I left my keys. Okay, something with some depth. Okay? And we're going to do this individually. This is just for you. You don't have to... we're going to share our discussion at the end. So, something that's important to you, but you also would feel comfortable sharing with just one or two other people. Okay? Concerns. What could you or should you do? Research, which would include asking them, asking their friends, reading from the organization, finding out what they say in the media, finding out what the other neighbors say, reading their books. We can do research, okay? If it's a serious thing, we always have to do research. For this exercise, we're coming up with some general ideas, okay? Next thing I want you to do, only two more things. Now that you've looked at the needs, interests, and concerns of that one or two audiences, write a message to them. Physically write a message to them, communicating your goal in a way that's going to come up with a win-win solution. Let me explain to you again. Watch this for just a second. When I went to the city council, I told them, once I understood their needs, interests, and concerns, I can explain Rathayatra in a way that addresses their needs, interests, and concerns. So if you've thought the exercise through properly, understanding your key audience's needs, interests, and concerns, you practically go down the list and read off what you've determined they're interested in a way they can understand your purpose. Does that make sense? So everybody please do that, and just give you a couple minutes. We have one more thing, and then we're going to finish up. There's somebody next to you, behind you, in front of you, and explain, share for like 1-2 minutes each maximum, just a brief explanation. What did you learn here from this exercise in particular, and perhaps even what are you going to do differently now when you walk out the door? What did you learn here, and maybe what are you going to do differently when you walk out the door? Just in twos. Just grab a partner, somebody next to you. You don't have to move. Just share. Just like to end with the excerpts from a beautiful prayer from Srila Prabhupada, Markini Bhagavad Dharma, which he wrote when he landed at the Boston Harbor. There's not time to read all of it. It's beautiful. I believe 16 verses, 15 verses. But it's kind of like, sometimes we refer to this as the communicator's prayer. Prabhupada mentions the word message, I don't know how many times, more than a dozen in here. But here's some excerpts of his meditation on how to be a better communicator. He says, I know your cause's mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? Oh Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. The words of the Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation, and if a sober person repeatedly receives them with submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and most fallen. Therefore I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or a failure as you like. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance. O Lord, make me dance as you like. Srila Prabhupada.